There comes a moment in every life when the mirror becomes a courtroom. You look at yourself, and the verdict feels final. The mistakes, the missed chances, the things you should have said but didn't, they echo louder than your own heartbeat. But here's the truth no one tells you. Failure isn't the opposite of growth. It's the raw material from which transformation is forged. Regret is not a chain, it's a compass. It shows you what mattered. It teaches you what you were too blind, too proud, or too afraid to see. Reinvention doesn't begin with motivation. It begins with honesty, with admitting, I broke something in myself, and then whispering, but I can rebuild. The most powerful versions of people you admire, the artists, the thinkers, the builders, they were once shattered. But instead of hiding the cracks, they filled them with gold. That's the secret of the Japanese art kintsugi, repairing broken pottery with gold lacquer so the break becomes the beauty. You are allowed to do the same with your life. Reinvention is not about erasing who you were. It's about alchemizing your past into wisdom. It's looking at the ashes and realizing, the fire didn't end you, it purified you. There is no timeline for redemption, no applause for quiet recoveries. The world won't always notice when you start again, but the universe will. Because every act of self-reconstruction realigns your soul with truth. So, if you failed, good. If you regret, even better. It means you felt deeply, you cared immensely, and you risked something real. Now take that brokenness and make it sacred. Rebuild with intention. Walk back into your life like a stranger who finally understands the language of pain. The past may have shaped you, but it has no right to define you. You are not your failure. You are the one who survived it. And that is the beginning of reinvention. There's a silence that follows failure. It's not just the absence of noise. It's the absence of certainty. You wake up one morning and realize that everything you thought you were building has collapsed, not with an explosion, but with a quiet, invisible unraveling. The plans, the relationships, the identity, they don't vanish overnight. They fade, like an echo that refuses to fully die. And in that emptiness, you find yourself asking the question that marks the beginning of all reinvention. Who am I now? Failure doesn't just break your plans. It breaks your reflection. You start doubting even the parts of yourself that worked, your instincts, your confidence, your sense of direction. The mind plays cruel tricks. It replays every mistake, every choice, every what if, like a looping film. But beneath that self-blame, something else is happening, something sacred. The death of illusion. The moment when the version of you that was built to please others, to be perfect, to avoid pain, finally collapses. And that is where truth begins. We often think of failure as punishment. But what if it's invitation? An invitation to return to the raw material of your soul. See, when success defines you, you wear a mask. But when failure strips that success away, what's left is you, unedited and undeniable. That's the version the universe is waiting to rebuild. You might feel like you've lost time, that you're behind, that others moved forward while you fell apart. But reinvention doesn't follow the world's calendar. It follows the rhythm of your soul, and the soul doesn't rush. It waits until you're quiet enough to listen. You can't reinvent yourself while you're still trying to prove something. You can only do it when you're ready to understand something. Every failure carries two stories. The one you tell the world, and the one that shapes who you become. The world sees endings, but your soul sees the workshop. Pain is the forge, reflection is the hammer, and patience is the fire that turns regret into wisdom. You will start to notice something subtle, that the same silence that once felt unbearable begins to feel sacred. Because silence, when embraced, becomes space. Space for healing, space for clarity, space for rebirth. This is where reinvention begins, not with noise or motivation, but with stillness. With sitting in the ashes long enough to recognize which pieces of you were never meant to rise again. You're not behind. You're in incubation. And sometimes, the universe hides you not to punish you, but to prepare you. You may feel lost, but that's just a sign that you've outgrown the map. And it's okay. You're not supposed to know where you're going when you've never been this real before. The journey of reinvention doesn't start with knowing what's next. It starts with accepting what's done. Tonight, as you think about everything that didn't go as planned, ask yourself not, why did this happen to me? But what is this teaching me about who I truly am? Because the universe doesn't break you to punish you. It breaks you to open you. To empty the cup that was filled with everything fake, so it can finally be refilled with everything true. There comes a stage in every journey of healing when the hardest thing isn't forgiving others. It's forgiving yourself. Regret is a mirror, and that mirror doesn't lie. It reflects what you wish you'd done differently. It shows the versions of you that you betrayed, through fear, through pride, through not knowing better. It's easy to look away from that mirror, to drown it in distractions, in busyness, in pretending the past doesn't matter. But every time you avoid it, you stay frozen in the same chapter. To move forward, you have to look, really look, not to punish yourself, but to understand yourself. What is regret, really? It's proof that you've grown wiser. You couldn't regret a choice unless you'd evolved beyond the person who made it. That means regret isn't your enemy. It's evidence of your evolution. When you stare into the mirror of your past, you will see three faces. The self that didn't know better. The innocent, impulsive, or unhealed version of you who acted from fear, not wisdom. The self that suffers now. The you that's paying the emotional price, feeling shame, replaying old moments, wishing for rewinds that never come. The self that is emerging. The witness, the one watching both versions, ready to forgive them both and begin again. Reinvention begins when the third self takes the lead. Regret has two languages. The voice of shame and the voice of growth. Shame says, you ruined everything. Growth says, you learned something sacred. The challenge is learning to switch which one you listen to. Maybe you broke something that mattered. Maybe you walked away from someone who needed you. Maybe you betrayed your own potential. But let me remind you, you are not the same person who made those choices. And that is your redemption. You've seen the consequences. You've tasted the emptiness. You've carried the weight long enough to know you don't want to live that way anymore. That awareness is evolution. That pain is the tuition of wisdom. You cannot hate yourself into transformation. You can only love yourself into alignment. The past cannot be changed, but it can be reinterpreted. It can become your teacher, your mentor, your silent guide. When you shift your view from, I lost everything, to, I learned everything, the same memory that once broke you begins to heal you. Some people think healing means moving on. But the truth is, healing means integrating. It means taking the parts of you that hurt, the memories, the failures, the regrets, and weaving them into the fabric of who you are, instead of trying to cut them out. You stop asking, why did I do that? And start asking, what was I trying to protect when I did that? Because regret fades when understanding begins. Every failure has a message hidden inside. Maybe it was teaching you boundaries. Maybe it was showing you that you were giving your power away. Maybe it was reminding you that you deserve more than what you were settling for. When you stop cursing your past, it starts coaching your future. Let me tell you a secret. The people who shine the brightest are not those who never fell, but those who used their fall to find depth. Pain made them kind. Regret made them honest. Failure made them wise. They didn't bury their mistakes. They mined them. And what they found was gold. Look into your own mirror tonight. See the younger you, the one who didn't know what you know now. They weren't your enemy. They were your beginning. Whisper to them, it's okay. We're still becoming. Because that's what regret really is. The unfinished love letter between who you were and who you're becoming. Reinvention rarely begins with thunder. It begins with whispers. With small, almost invisible choices that the world won't notice, but your soul will. After failure, the temptation is to start big. New goals, new plans, new promises. But the truth is, real transformation doesn't need a declaration. It needs discipline. And discipline begins quietly. When you choose to wake up instead of hide, to reflect instead of run, to breathe instead of break. You can't rebuild your life overnight, but you can rebuild your mornings. And when you rebuild your mornings, you begin to rebuild yourself. So many people wait for motivation, that lightning flash that never lasts. But motivation fades. Rituals remain. Rituals are the architecture of reinvention. They are the scaffolding that holds you while you rebuild from within. Start with the smallest things. Drink water before checking your phone. Write a sentence about what you're grateful for, even if your heart still aches. Take a walk, not to escape your thoughts, but to escort them into stillness. You don't heal by doing everything right. You heal by doing one small thing right, again and again, until it becomes who you are. After failure, your trust in yourself is fractured. You doubt your own decisions, your own instincts. So the first task of reinvention isn't to build new dreams. It's to rebuild self-trust. How? By keeping tiny promises to yourself. If you say you'll read for 10 minutes, do it. If you say you'll rest, truly rest. Each kept promise is a vote for the new you. And each broken one reminds the old you that you're still listening to its lies. Self-trust grows in repetition. Every morning you choose peace over panic, discipline over doubt. You rewire your mind for belief. Reinvention isn't glamorous. It's quiet. It's you sitting in a room with your thoughts and choosing not to be afraid of them anymore. Healing isn't about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to be someone else. You don't need a new identity. You need to shed the false one, the one that believed success defined worth, the one that thought failure erased value. Who you are underneath all of that, that's who is waiting to emerge. And yes, it takes time. True transformation always does. Because you're not just changing your actions, you're changing your energy. You're unlearning the need to rush. You're teaching yourself to breathe inside uncertainty. You're learning that patience is not weakness, it's spiritual maturity. When you stop chasing quick fixes and start honoring the slow rebuild, you move from survival to creation. You see, reinvention doesn't mean you rise every day with confidence. It means you rise every day despite the doubt. It's not about being fearless. It's about acting even when you're trembling. Every step you take toward your new self counts. Even if it's messy, even if it's hesitant, even if it hurts. Because the old you only understands chaos. The new you is learning consistency. And consistency is the quiet revolution of the soul. There's a power that comes when you stop explaining your process to others. When you stop proving you've changed and simply live like it. The world will notice later. But your peace will notice now. Think of your life as a garden after winter. At first, there's nothing to see. No flowers, no proof, no applause. Just soil and effort and faith. But beneath the surface, something ancient is stirring. Roots are reforming. And every small action you take, every kind word you tell yourself, is sunlight. You are growing, even when you don't see it. This is the quiet rebuild. The season where nothing makes sense, but everything matters. The time when your heart learns that peace isn't a destination, it's a discipline. So don't rush. Don't compare. Don't demand to see the whole picture. Because reinvention is a sunrise, not a switch. And right now, you are watching the first light appear. There's a moment in every rebirth when you realize something fundamental. You cannot step into a new life while still defending the old one. Reinvention isn't only about changing habits or circumstances. It's about changing identity. Because the life you desire can't exist in the mindset that built the one you're trying to escape. To truly reinvent yourself, you must be willing to let parts of you die. Not physically, but psychologically. You must outgrow your own story. Most people never change because they cling to a narrative. They define themselves by what happened to them. They keep introducing themselves to life as their pain, their past, their disappointment. But identity is not a prison. It's a choice. And you can choose again. Ask yourself, who would I be if I stopped needing to explain my pain? Who would I be if I stopped being the victim of my own memories? When you stop defending your wounds, you start healing them. When you stop saying this is just who I am, you make space for who you're meant to be. You see, every human being carries two selves. The constructed self, shaped by fear, validation, survival. And the authentic self, the one you were born as, before the world told you what was acceptable. The first self seeks control. The second seeks truth. Reinvention happens when truth becomes more important than control. You'll notice resistance. Your mind will try to pull you back into the old identity. It will whisper, this is unfamiliar. Stay safe. But safety is just another word for stagnation when your soul is ready to evolve. The ego fears annihilation. But you're not destroying yourself. You're upgrading your awareness. The pain you feel while shedding the old skin isn't punishment. It's metamorphosis. Think of a snake shedding its skin. It doesn't rush. It doesn't panic. It simply releases what no longer fits. Your identity works the same way. Every belief that says, I can't, I'm not enough, it's too late. Those are old skins. They once protected you, but now they limit you. It's time to outgrow them. To reinvent yourself, begin speaking a new language, internally first. Instead of saying, I've failed too many times, say, I've experimented enough to know what doesn't work. Instead of saying, I'm broken, say, I'm rebuilding stronger than before. Words shape identity. Identity shapes destiny. And destiny begins in dialogue with yourself. If you truly want to transform, you must act as if the new identity already exists. Not someday now. Wake up and be the person you're becoming, not the one you've been. If the new you values health, move like it. If the new you seeks peace, speak like it. If the new you honors boundaries, walk away like it. Reinvention is not waiting for evidence. It's creating it. Your past self was reactive. Your new self is intentional. And intention is the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. Every time you choose from awareness instead of autopilot, you dissolve an old identity and birth a new one. You become the sculptor, not the statue. There's a peace that comes when you stop trying to explain yourself to people who only knew the old version of you. They may say, you've changed. And that's okay. That's the goal. Because reinvention requires outgrowing conversations, environments, and energies that feed your former self. You don't owe anyone your stagnation just because they're uncomfortable with your growth. The true shift happens when you no longer chase alignment. You embody it. When you stop pretending to be healed and quietly start living healed. When you stop talking about purpose and begin walking with it. This is where identity merges with authenticity, where your actions stop performing and start reflecting your truth. You'll wake up one morning and realize something subtle. The things that once triggered you don't anymore. The people who drained you fade from your orbit. The chaos that used to define you now feels foreign. That's not luck. That's the silent proof that you've shifted timelines from reaction to creation. You've stopped being a character in your story. You've become the author. And when that moment comes, stand still, breathe, remember how far you've come. Because you're not reinventing from emptiness. You're reinventing from experience. Your pain was the teacher. Your failure was the curriculum. And your awareness is the diploma. There comes a quiet moment in every transformation. After the storm, after the breakdown, when silence finally returns, you look around and realize the old world is gone. And yet, somehow, you are still here. Different, raw, alive. That's rebirth. Not the grand announcement. Not the applause. Just peace. Rebirth doesn't look like fireworks. It looks like waking up one morning and not hating yourself for the first time in years. It's saying no to something that used to control you. It's choosing calm over chaos. It's finally feeling like you can breathe again. Rebirth is when survival turns into creation. You start rebuilding quietly. No one claps. No one notices. But you feel it. You begin doing things not to prove your worth, but because you have worth. You start chasing excellence instead of validation. You begin treating peace as success. And slowly, your outer world begins to mirror your inner one. You'll realize the power was never in the past. The past was the training ground, not the destination. Every mistake was data. Every regret was a mirror. Every heartbreak was a teacher. Rebirth is when you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start saying, this happened for me. Failure taught you to respect effort. Regret taught you to respect time. Pain taught you to respect truth. Now, you walk with a wisdom no success could ever give. You've earned your peace. You've earned your resilience. You've earned your rebirth. From here on, the mission changes. It's no longer about escaping the past. It's about designing the future. The question is not who was I, but who do I now choose to become? Because reinvention is a lifelong practice. Every day, you are both the artist and the canvas. Every thought is a brushstroke. Every choice is color. Every sunrise, a blank page. You don't need to rush. You don't need to force it. Growth doesn't demand noise. It requires consistency. Keep showing up. Keep tending to your peace. Keep building small habits that honor your future self. That's how rebirth sustains itself. Not through intensity, but through integrity. One day someone will ask, how did you do it? And you'll smile. Because they won't understand that the hardest part wasn't changing your life. It was changing the way you saw yourself. You'll realize you never really started over. You simply started true. Rebirth is remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. It's forgiving yourself for not knowing better. It's thanking your pain for guiding you home. It's loving the person you're becoming, even while they're still in progress. Because becoming is never ugly. It's sacred. Now, as you stand in this moment, breathe deeply. Feel your heart. It's still beating. It's still trying. You've survived what once felt impossible. And that's no small thing. Don't downplay your survival. Honor it. Let it be the foundation of your future. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are the proof that light can return to broken places. You are the evidence that endings are just disguised beginnings. You are not behind. You're right on time for your rebirth. So when doubt whispers again, and it will, remind yourself, you've already been through worse. You've already rebuilt from nothing. You've already risen from the ashes once. And you will do it again, but this time, you'll rise awake. Now that you've walked through the fire and found peace in the ashes, a new chapter begins. This one is not about survival. It's about living. Living with awareness. Living with purpose. Living without the constant weight of yesterday. Every rebirth asks for discipline, because the mind will try to return to the old rooms. The rooms built from pain, fear, and comparison. But those doors are locked now. You've outgrown those spaces. You no longer belong to the version of you who needed validation to feel alive. You belong to the version who creates from peace, not pressure. Living the new life means making peace your default setting. You stop chasing things that drain your soul. You start protecting the energy that builds your future. It's not glamorous. It's daily. It's deliberate. You eat better. You speak kinder. You stop rushing. You learn to sit with silence instead of escaping it. This is the quiet revolution. The true reinvention. You see, reinvention is not a single event. It's a rhythm. A conversation between who you were and who you're becoming. Every morning, you get to decide which voice you'll listen to. The one rooted in regret, or the one rising in renewal. Choose the second. Every time. The new life also means forgiving yourself, again and again. Because even the healed version of you will stumble. Even the awakened self will forget sometimes. That's not failure. That's humanity. The point is not perfection. The point is persistence. You keep coming home to your truth. You keep choosing presence over punishment. From here, live intentionally. Speak less from reaction and more from reflection. Work not for attention, but for alignment. Ask yourself daily, does this move me closer to peace or further from it? And let that answer guide everything. Your work, your relationships, your choices, your rest. That's how new life sustains itself. Through conscious consistency. Build your days around what nourishes you. Create rituals that anchor your growth. Read, move, meditate, breathe, disconnect, return. Let every small act become a declaration of your rebirth. The way you drink your morning coffee. The way you speak your truth. The way you show kindness. Not because life is easy, but because you've learned that love is strength. The new life is not loud. It's steady. It's intentional. It's free. You'll notice that what used to bother you doesn't hold power anymore. Because you've upgraded from reaction to response. You'll notice that peace becomes your new success. That clarity becomes your wealth. That integrity becomes your brand. This is what living reborn feels like. Light, calm, and quietly powerful. So take this new life and live it well. Not perfectly, but authentically. Let the past remain your teacher. Let the present be your temple. And let the future find you ready. Unafraid, awake, and deeply alive. Because you didn't just reinvent your path. You reinvented yourself. And that is the greatest transformation of all. Welcome to your new life.